conditions of approval to make the entry point safe, to clean up messes, to have some checks and balances over truck traffic, knowing full well that at some point in time there would be a lot of truck traffic on Club Hill, which there is now. Whitetail has agreed to do all of the above. And the issues with safety and the truck traffic in particular have become somewhat amplified in the last couple of years because of the building expansion and also because of the scale and the scope and the lot slopes on the homes within Whitetail. There's a considerable amount of gravel import and soils X out on those sites to construct the homes. The current situation with the red light, green light little kiosk is pretty much a total annoyance, especially at night for the people that live on Upper Club Hill Boulevard. It's a very bright red light, and when someone like myself, in full disclosure, who's a Whitetail member, approaches it, the red light turns green. Ta-da, now I can go. Well, to the public, that's a bit of gamesmanship. We see a lot of people just blow through the red light, green light. I have personal friends who blow through the red light, green light because there is no control there. It's a suggestion. It's like on the highway, it says the speed's 65, so you go 68 or 69 because you know you can get away with it, right? Well, that's what happens with this current wacky system up there at the Whitetail entrance. And it's really not fair to the people that live in Whitetail either, for crying out loud. They bought into a gated community. There's gates at all 4 other accesses, so why not make the thing complete and allow the gate that should have been allowed in 2005. So with that, I rest my case, and I would ask you to approve the Whitetail amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, it sounds like no further comments. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, any comments, concerns, questions?
So this is Commissioner Thompson. I've got 2 minutes before my next meeting. So I don't have any objections to this, and I think we should move forward. I know that it's going to be a problem here when I jump off. I'm making a decision on this, it looks like. So
Okay, yes, our quorum situation. Yeah, does anyone have any glaring issues with this application?
I do not.
Okay.
If you're going to recuse yourself from the next one. Yeah.
Commissioner Lyons, I make a motion we approve the amendment for the Whitetail application.
That you recommend to City Council that they approve.
Yeah, I recommend to City Council that we approve the amendment for the Whitetail Development Agreement.
second that.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to recommend approval to City Council for PUD 0501 Development Agreement Amendment. Morgan, do you want a roll call vote?
I do. Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Clement, oh, sorry, Commissioner Tunnel. Nope, he left too. Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cron,
Yes.
Commissioner Faraday.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
I'm going to step out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
No, So Michelle, I was just looking at your comments. I think once Clements comes back from being recused. Oh no, except for unless Johanna's recusing herself.
Which I am.
Yeah, so that was my concern.
So then we
So
only
I-
have one.
Do we have a way for
Two.
Commissioner Tunnel to rejoin for this last application since the applicant's been waiting here?
Yeah. Why don't I see if I can contact Scott?
That'd be great.
Would you like me to do that? Of course you would.
Yeah, I think the applicant's been sitting here for a while, so I think he's ready.
Yeah. Let me bring him up.
Thank you.
If he can't get on, I'll tell him to drive to my house.
Does he have to go through a gate? I can help myself.
Hey, Scott, how you doing, man? We have a little challenge with a quorum now because Johanna has to recuse herself from the next application. And the gentleman's been sitting there all night to present. And is there any way you can try to get back on?
Just a phone call.
Yeah.
We love one.
Try with your phone. It's the, hang on, let me look at my agenda. It's the Stockton Drive. 641 Stockton Drive, DR 2044.
651.
It probably is your internet. Have you tried using your phone and going audio only? Oh, bummer. It's yeah, the Ziply out there doesn't carry the bandwidth. Yeah, if you could try with your phone, and you could also then bring it up on your computer to look at it from the packet in terms of presentation material. That might be an option. Yeah. I'm live. No, I've got it on my PC, and
I'm on speakerphone.
so I'm live. We're just
on speakerphone through his
challenged
computer.
not having a quorum now. To
Like, I mean, put him on speakerphone, like, it's two people.
Yeah. Application, and the gentleman's been there for quite some time tonight.
Or we can just give him the conference number too.
Trying
Yeah.
to send courtesy. Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just trying, I'm the conduit here between staff, the remaining commissioners, and you, using all this modern technology. Do you have the Teams app on your iPhone by any chance?
Hey, Steve, why don't you just put it on speakerphone so he can hear?
Oh, hey. Here's my idea. Somebody's a genius down there at the city. We're
No,
paying them.
that was all Commissioner Cran. I was gonna give him the call-in number, but she just said, why doesn't he just put it on speakerphone?
Work smarter, not harder.
Does that work?
Let's try this. You're gonna go live now, so everybody can hear you. They can hear me, now they're gonna hear you. So don't say anything you'll regret, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, how's that work, guys?
Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, let's do this.
Score. Okay.
All right. Thank you for joining us again, Mr. Tunnel, Commissioner Tunnel. We are on Design Review 2044 at 641 Stockton Drive.
I have 651 Stockton Drive.
So the application was originally noticed as 651. Our GIS shows this parcel as being 641, so that's why there might
Good
be
for
a.
me. You know, the Idaho Power, when they ran the power, had that kind of discrepancy with Public Works or whatever, and they worked it all out. I don't know, between John Russell and the surveying, it all came together, I guess.
Well, not all together, because myself and GIS have it as 641, but not the biggest issue here. We won't really worry about it. We can see your parcel and we use the legal description, so.
Okay, great. So I have a project that I'm in development right now, and I got permits for the power, the right-of-way access, the septic, the well, and the backup septic, as well as the building itself. And so I'm just looking for some feedback. I was corresponding with Morgan and John on this. In the last month, it came up, a little curveball. So we thought we'd address the public and hand out the letters to the neighbors. And so looking to answer any questions or anything. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom family home, single family home.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I'm waiting for more questions than I am trying to tell you what I already have.
If the commission wants, I can run through my staff report.
Yeah, that would probably be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so if we look at the screen, the parcel we're looking at is the one here labeled 641 Stockton Drive. Hopefully you can see my cursor circling it. It is landlocked. It does not have right-of-way frontage. There is an easement on an adjacent property. You can see right here a 20-foot access and utility easement coming all the way down right here across from May Road. And that is how they access their parcel. So here's the site plan showing the footprint of the structure in relation to the lot, as well as their well and septic. So this is a design review approval for a single family residence in excess of 3,500 square feet. It is unusual in that it is mostly constructed. So a building permit for this residence was issued for the structure on August 5th, 2020. It never came across my desk. I was unaware of this application and went straight to building. They saw that the ground floor footprint was this 3,366 square feet, so less than 3,500, and issued the building permit in error, thinking the structure was less than 3,500 square feet. When in reality, the structure has a second story on a portion of the building. So half of the lower level, or all of the lower level, right, 3,400 square feet. And then the second level extends over half of the lower level. Maybe it's 8 o'clock. I feel like I'm no longer explaining this clearly or coherently. The upstairs is half the size of the downstairs, so that's why it's not 7,000 square feet. It's 5,100 square feet. So it should have come through design review and been noticed to the public. But as I mentioned, the planning department was unaware of the issue until we received a neighbor complaint on September 16th, 2020, when it was brought to staff's attention. After review, a letter was issued to the property owner on September 29th, letting them know that their building permit was issued in error and they should have received design review approval, and letting them know that design review would still be required, and that any further site or any further work on the project would be at their own risk, because during the review by Planning and Zoning, the P&Z Commission could request modification to the structure or landscaping, et cetera, to bring it more into conformance with our design standards. However, no stop work order was issued at that time because staff felt like it was our error in issuing that permit. It was not through a fault of their own. So staff has been working with the property owner this winter to try to complete their design review application to present. There are still some things missing from this application. So for example, we see the site plan of where the house is located on the structure, but we don't necessarily see the driveway from this easement coming over or parking. So it was hard to calculate exact lot coverage because we don't have this small driveway and parking square footage. This site does have an allowable coverage of 18.5% or 9,300 square feet. And the proposed structure has a footprint of 3,300 square feet, leaving 17,000 square feet available for drive and parking because we calculate them at a reduced percentage. So it appears that this is going to be in compliance with lot coverage, but we just don't have quite that information to say exactly what it is yet. The building height is well within code. Height's allowed at 35 feet. The height to the eaves of this structure is 22 feet. It was unclear to me what the exact maximum height to the roof peak was, but it appeared to be between 26 and 28 feet, so within code. But once again, we don't have the exact specifics, but it appears to meet that. The minimum required setbacks for this parcel are 25 feet from the front property line, which I'm counting as this one because that is where their access comes from, and this is where it would be considered if it was a flag lot. 15 feet from either side property line and 20 feet from the rear. The applicant is proposing setbacks of 64 feet from the front, 50 feet from the easterly side property line, 21 feet from the westerly side. 64 from the front and rear, 50 from the easterly side, and 21 from the westerly side. So let's see what else. We don't have a site drainage or landscaping plan. We do have some elevations and photos, which I will go through. The closest thing to landscaping plan that I have at the moment is this aerial photo and sort of showing how many trees are on the north, sort of easterly side of the lot, which were all remaining. So it is a large metal structure, which I think is where a lot of the complaints came from. It does have a bit more of a commercial or industrial aesthetic, even though it is intended to be only used as a single family residential dwelling. So these are some of the elevations. They're from the building permit and they're from the metal fabricator company. So they're very detailed and less about the visual and more about the measurements. So it's sort of hard to get the appearance. So from this side, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 garage doors, an upper window, a deck, and then like a lower patio. So over here, it looks like there's windows, and then deck and patio. Here's the other end. These are the floor plans that I was showing a little bit earlier, showing that there is a residence in here on both the lower level and upper level. And then here's a rendering. We requested a rendering and they were able to get one from the metal fabricator company because it's a lot more helpful than the elevations to sort of convey what the structure is going to look like. And because the building is significantly completed, you can see that it looks a lot like the rendering. Here are some other site photos. So this is from, oh wait, wrong. Well, from Stockton Drive, looking down that driveway easement. There's the decks, garage doors. There were some interior photos. And these were sort of showing the trees that were remaining around the periphery of the structure. And then a site photo from a little further away. So some of the design guidelines that you might want to discuss, building scale, blank walls, adjacent buildings and uses, McCall classic styles, plans as screening. The city engineer's comments basically stated that there was not enough information to provide a review and that Public Works would need a site drainage and landscaping plan and a stormwater application before they could provide final comments. We don't need sewer comments because they are on septic, and septic, Central District Health stated that they had issued a permit for this parcel in June, so that was satisfied. I detailed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 public comments in your staff report that were expressing concerns about the project's aesthetic, sort of that commercial industrial feel that I mentioned, as well as the scale. And a lot of the comments reflected that they were concerned that there might be a potential commercial use or something like that out here in the future. In addition to the comments that were summarized in your staff report, I received a letter from Michael Wisenbach that was emailed out earlier this morning, expressing concerns, as well as Pam Wisenbach, Kimberly Apperson, Mark Wolfden, and Teresa Cohen. And so those were the public comments that were sent to you this morning in your email that you were all able to see. And since that time, I have not received any additional public comment. So staff recommends that the commission continue this application, well, review it, talk about the guidelines, and then give staff some direction on whether you feel like this meets the criteria or not, or whether you need more information and what that is so we can specifically direct the applicant to provide it. And then the commission may also choose to consider whether or not a stop work order is appropriate to ensure that additional materials are provided in a timely fashion, or whether issuing, conditioning all requirements on issuance of C of O is sufficient, such as if you think that more trees need to be planted, is it sufficient to say more trees need to be planted before issuance of C of O, something like that. So those were the suggested next steps outlined in your staff report for after you hold the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing to anyone who'd like to speak about this project. Again, we have reviewed the written comments, so we have been able to put those into the record. If there's anyone on Teams who would like to speak, you are welcome to do so at this time. If you are on a phone, you need to push *6 to unmute yourself. It might take a few seconds for your audio to come up, so just be patient and we'll get you on. So anyone who would like to speak, now is the time. Any public comments for this item? Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. Or I hear somebody, maybe.
Fallon?
Yes.
Fallon?
Yes.
Hi, this is Kim Apperson.
Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Hey, I guess I don't have any additional comments to the couple of emails I've sent. However, I do hope you keep the public hearing open until you receive more information with respect to architectural design and landscaping, planning, etc. on this project, that you keep this public hearing open. That would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the phone?
You were probably already going to do this, Fallon, but
Okay.
even if no one else speaks, it might be good to let the applicant try to address some of the comments in the letters that hopefully he was able to see in the packet and staff report.
Yes. Let's go ahead and do that. So I will hand it back to the applicant to respond to some of the concerns raised in the written comments, if you'd like to do so.
Okay, I hadn't seen any of the written comments. It was unbeknownst to me that there were any brought to my attention. Was that in an email or something, or?
They were outlined in the staff report that I emailed you, and then they were all included in the meeting packet.
Okay. So if they have been revealed, the concerns?
Yeah, do you want to just walk through them, Morgan, so we can address each one?
Okay, so a lot of them were, the use, whether this was going to end up being commercial or industrial, the aesthetic of it appearing commercial and industrial, the character.
Anymore.
I'm sorry?
I said I was just tired of painting my house and stripping my house and treating your house. And so that's why I went with the engineered metal that has the baked color on it, so I never have to deal with that again. I went with the color scheme because it fit the landscape, the brown grass for the walls and the green roof to soak into the tree line. I obviously could have chosen several different spots on the lot in order to tuck the house, but I would have had to cut down many more trees. I didn't cut any trees down that were in front of the house or on the side of the house. They were all actually where the back of the footprint is, just so I could fit it onto that area without disturbing the tree line. Therefore, making it, mitigating big problems of view shed for anybody that's behind me. As far as the landscaping and the drainage is concerned, it's like a 3-degree slope, maybe less. I put a 2-foot deep water, I guess French drain you'd call it. So it's got a 4-inch pipe that goes around and a horseshoe around the back of the building. And that's all filled with gravel. And that horseshoe ends by going across the property into Galad's property, Tony. We've never went any further than, is it okay? And it was a resounding yes. So the water basically doesn't run because the slope is so slight that it just goes into the ground. But I thought to, create any kind of backdrop of a flood or a big 100-year storm, that I'd put something there. As far as the landscaping goes, I'd be glad to, listen to anybody that would like to put input on what should go around there. you know, basically I can't put them in front of the garage doors. But I could, you know, put them on the side of the property where, if you see in this picture, there's a green transformer from Idaho Power. That's where the driveway goes into the property. I could continue to line that area with trees if someone would think that would soften the area. There was no rocks and nothing was hauled out that was a part of the natural landscape, nothing but grass from just the surface. So you know, I'm not replacing anything, but I'd put rocks anyways, just because I would like them aesthetically. I guess, I think that was it. The industrial end of it, like I say, I tried to make it as nice as possible with the deck up on top and on bottom with the railing that goes around it. I didn't think a ton of windows would actually be softening anything. I thought, if anything, that would be putting a glaring look on the building. I think that's about it. I wasn't certain.
Could you speak to the use? I think neighbors are maybe concerned just because it looks a little more commercial that it's going to be used in that way.
Okay, so the 2 garage doors that are in the front of the house. So if you're looking out the side, you see 3 of them. So it'd be the 2 that are going to the front. They're just going to be enclosed into the living space. You know, so John and I spoke about, well, how is this floor plan going to work with this area? We don't want the whole big bottom thing to be a shop. And I said, I assure you, 1, my back is too old from farming, but 2, only one of those garage doors goes into the bay part. So I could put shelving on either side, just for, you know, general storage. And I have a boat that you can't see there, and, you know, a side-by-side and vehicles. So they just need to go somewhere.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Sure.
Commissioners, are there any other points that were missing that were brought up in the public comments? Just because my brain, I'm not trusting my brain at this point. Before we let our applicant sit down and we can discuss. Morgan, can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead.
Who's that?
Oh, sorry, Morgan, can you hear me? This is Teresa, and I tried to talk earlier, but we couldn't get our *6 to work, so I had to switch phones.
Oh, no problem. We can hear you now.
Okay, I apologize, and thanks for you know, all of your work on this and other items this evening. I know it's a long evening for everyone, so I appreciate it. I guess I have some questions, and I know they maybe can't be answered right now, but I'm a little confused about the timeline a little bit, because if I'm looking at my dates correctly, walls were going up December 18th. So I believe that's in the at your own risk period after notice was given to the owner. So I guess I'm a little bit concerned about that timeline and the choices that were made in that timeline, knowing that objections had been made. So maybe a little clarity on that. And I'm still a little bit confused about the process of why this was permitted. And I understand that there are negative impacts on the owner of that property completely, but there are also impacts on the neighborhood and the structures that are allowed to be built here. And this is a neighborhood that I think, as many of the letters probably indicate, most people live in this neighborhood full time. We really value it as a neighborhood that's really prized in McCall. And I think a lot of us are concerned not about what's happening now. It doesn't look like a residential structure at all, but what happens next? Properties turn over all the time here. And so what happens with the next owner? And we've already been concerned in this neighborhood about commercial and industrial creep. And so I think everyone is concerned that this is another example of commercial uses coming into the neighborhood, whether it's through this owner or the future use of this structure.
And can you just state your name and address for the record? Sorry, I got a little behind on our.
Yep, no, Teresa Cohn, 300 May Road.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
You bet. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, I think unless there are further sort of clarifying questions from the commission, I would move on. I think as opposed to closing the public hearing, because it's seeming like we do need to, we're probably not going to resolve this evening. I would like to get some feedback from commissioners about your impressions of the project. Obviously, this is kind of difficult
Excuse me?
because we're coming at it from behind a little bit.
Thanks.
So in terms of design review standards, it's definitely different than what we would generally require or expect. So feedback is what I'm looking for, I suppose.
Well, yeah, it seems, this is Commissioner Tunnel, it seems to me that, well, first question I have is, the applicant stated that the two garage doors to the right of the one on the far left were not intended to be used as garage. And at least that's what I thought I heard. And that confuses me as to why he would do that if he didn't have some future plan or future possibility. So I would need to have that resolved in my own mind. And then second thing that I would think I would want to know as we kick this down the road to the next meeting or the next two meetings from now, whatever it is I'd like to see the applicant look at our design review guidelines seriously and look at how he might adapt those guidelines to change his building to look like a house instead of a warehouse.
Commissioner Tunnel, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant can maybe clarify for us, but I think what he said with the two garage doors is that they are separated from the third. So my impression was that those are intended for just regular vehicles. And then the third garage door opens into sort of the shop area on the lower level.
Because I thought he said, and I apologize if it was otherwise, I thought he said that was living space in behind those two garage doors.
So yeah, if you want to put that other photo up of the three garage doors, the side, I could kind of clarify that. So the two garage doors
You
that
can
are.
come up back to the podium. If it's open. Darling, do you want the applicant to respond to that or?
I think it would be helpful. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so the two garage doors that are towards the front of the house, from that point forward is all living space. So those two garage doors will be part of the two bedrooms, the two bathrooms, the living room and the kitchen that are in that living area. The one garage door that is towards the back of the house lets you access that parking area inside. So if you have a boat or you have a side-by-side, which I have both, so I just want to make space and make it so my wife wasn't having to live amongst a, toy shop.
So go ahead, Steve.
I'm confused. So you don't have any windows on your ground floor of your house near your entry point. Is that what I'm seeing there? There's just one window on the right, on the ground floor. No other windows on your ground floor?
No, they're natural light. If you go to the back side of the building, there's movable windows, and then there's natural light window to go for the back of the building.
I guess I'm not familiar with the natural light window.
I think we're still not understanding the garage door situation. Are there cars being parked in those two bays?
That's correct.
Okay.
They will serve the purpose of parking for the home. And the other one is just to be able to access your storage area. So
correct.
instead of having to drive into the building and then take a left to go into the storage area, it's that last garage door, the third one towards the back, allows you to get into that space.
So is all your living area on the second floor of the structure?
No,
I didn't think so.
correct. So the bottom is a bedroom where that window is.
Correct.
And there's a bathroom with another window on the back side of the building that's just not shown right there, but so the right above that area is the other bedroom and the other bathroom. This bathroom windows, you can see they're kind of like a 2x2 dimension, whatever it is. And they're stacked on top of each other.
Where's your kitchen and living room?
Upstairs.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
So Charles,
my-
this is garage, right? In the screen, this is garage, this portion, and then this side of the house is living.
Yes, correct. And so the second story would be all living, obviously.
Right. Up to like here.
That's correct. So basically in between the second and the third door is where the wall that'll go all the way, span across the whole building.
Got it. That helps.
So you're saying from the, in between the third and the second garage door, if you went
Yes.
clear to the roof line, from
Yes.
there, clear to the left is all clear space storage?
Yes. I think Morgan's kind of keying around that little area, or, yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
I can't see that from where, what I'm
Morgan?
looking at, but
Yeah, that's what he's saying there.
Is there
Morgan,
a
if you-
floor here?
Morgan, if you go down to that interior picture that you see, that one might show a little bit better what the
There you
inside is
go.
looking like, yeah.
So do you see between the second and the third door right there? And there's that beam that goes straight up vertically, and then there's a beam that goes across horizontally.
Yeah.
So if you were to draw a line straight down to the floor from there and straight up to the roof from there, that's all living space. So there'll be floor joists across the whole span. And as you see, there's a window there kind of facing right on it.
Okay.
The septic and the radiant floors have been poured into the concrete. That's about it for like infrastructure inside the building. I mean, things have been just kind of stubbed up and poured in through the concrete and the radiant floors.
Morgan, we didn't see this application, correct?
No.
Okay. Wanna-
So the building
Clarify
permit
that
was
part.
issued in error. I might just say that we didn't ask the applicant if he wanted to rebut the last public comment and just address the timeline and the choice to move forward with the building after being noticed that we failed to require design review, if he chooses.
I have the email that was sent from John, and he said, "How's it going? Long time no talk to. Just a little oopsie daisy. We have an issue. We gave you a permit to build, and you're already $250,000 into it, and you've got all the beams up and all the supports and everything, but you don't have your paneling." And I said, "Yeah, and I've got 3 feet of snow inside, so this is quite the curveball." And as I said, I have the email that says, "Well, don't discontinue going forward. Continue to build."
Hmm.
I mean, this was brought to my attention a little late in the game. If it had been summer or something, it would have been a lot easier to work with as far as just having that accumulation of all that snow. And the impact, I mean, I've had to shovel the inside out, I don't know, 8-10 times, you know.
Is your roof on now?
Excuse me?
Is your roof on now?
3/4 of it is. Yeah, because we just can't get 2 days back to back that I could get the guy. I mean, it's a specialized work. So I guess because the building is a pre-engineered building, the concrete is engineered within within that company, Allied Steel, and the contractor who was, you know, recommended by the company because they work with specialized metal buildings. They kind of all just went together. And so I never heard, I mean, I obviously, as time went on, when I got the rebar put into the foundation and the footings, I had that looked at by John. Everything else is so engineered, it's like you can't alter much. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but there's girts that go horizontally. So unlike a, you know, a stud wood building that would have vertical 2x4s or 2x6s going straight up and down, that way you'd be able to alter and manipulate those verticals to put a window in or whatever. Unlike that convenience, this is a pre-engineered building, so you have everything is holding a static weight in a certain way that this is what you pay for the engineer for. So it wasn't like I came up with an idea, you know, I need a window here, I need a window there. I just said, this is how it goes together. This is where the stress points are. This is where your roof load is. This is, you know, this is where your floor joists are. So there was a little wiggle room, but that was about it.
Well, it seems, I'll go back to my second question or suggestion, is if we're going to push this to the next meeting, leaving the public hearing open, is that, you know, from a discussion point, I'd like to suggest that we consider asking the applicant to look at our design review guidelines and see what can be done to the structure itself to meet as many of those guidelines as possible. And that's largely, obviously at this point, is aesthetic, but I think there's some things that creatively could be done. And I would like to hear other commissioners' thoughts about whether or not that's something that we should request staff and the applicant to work on.
No, I agree with that, Scott. Because of maybe a miss in part by city staff on this one, with it being allowed to even start, I think they do need to work together. And for the applicant, I noticed what appears to be some soils X out on site that could most likely be used as berming material. I'm thinking about the landscape to soften this from the neighbors. You might want to consider utilization of that going forward when you submit a landscape plan. And then question to Morgan and staff, is it possible on a structure to have a condition of approval subject to it only being used for residential to secure that C of O that would go on into in perpetuity with the property? That this could not be converted to commercial, to take that off the neighbors' minds.
And mine.
So,
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, as Commissioner Lyons, that I kind of wrote this down too, that maybe because if we just say no commercial, that's one thing. But if we were to say no, like home-based business, might really cover it as well if it's something that could work. So it would stop the commercial and any home-based business. All of a sudden he has his own backhoe out there. And I mean, I don't know if we can go that far or not, but just a thought.
So he's not applying for a conditional use. It's just design review. So it should address the design guidelines, requests, conditions, things like that. You guys are discussing more use. And I know the use is the neighbor's fear, but there's not a request at this time for a use that's not approved. You know, it's a request for a residence, which is approved. If they wanted to use it commercially in the future, they'd have to get a CUP. So I mean, our attorney's on the phone and he can chip in, but I don't think that it would be appropriate on a design review where we're looking at design guidelines to put conditions like on the use.
Yeah, I think at this point and I can understand this neighborhood is a little bit sensitive due to recent applications in the area, and yeah. But I think at this point we do just need to do our very best to work with what we've got a little bit. It's just going to be tough to
Morgan, I have a question. How does it play into, doesn't any structure greater than 3,500 square feet have to be stamped by a licensed architect? Like, would he need to hire an architect to stamp? I mean, I know it's engineered, but it's
Right,
not
so who's,
done by.
is this Michelle?
Yeah, it's just a question to clarify, and I was wondering if an architect could maybe help him.
Well, this was something that you and I and John discussed when we noticed this in September, and you agreed because we had waived, well, we was our error and we can't change this after the fact, that was going to have to be something that was, it's not doable at this point.
Well, I'm just thinking from an aesthetic standpoint that an architect could help dress up a metal building, right? Like, even if they're not going to stamp it, is there a way to, for an architect or a designer to soften the look of this metal industrial building?
I mean, that's a question for the applicant to talk to someone about.
It's,
Unless
I
the applicant thinks he can do it himself, or the fabric or the metal building company can do it. I don't know.
go ahead.
Oh, just looking what he currently has as far as the doors, in comparison to the artist rendition, the top panel of the doors, if you go to that artist rendition, whatever that is, 266, it has the windows across the top that do kind of break up that wall compared to what the three solid doors are. And I don't know if that would be something that could help as far as.
Right, the detail on these garage doors versus the garage doors that were installed.
Yeah, so it's a matter of changing the panel up top. I mean, it would take some work, but it gives it a little bit more of a home feel than a basic shop. So, I mean, if we're looking at stuff for design, would that be something that we would have asked, say this was coming to us without anything being built at this point? And then I think certainly we would have had some type of landscaping plan. So, and I think that would potentially the berms and some trees that would come along that north side, I guess, that northwest side, that corner kind of where you showed where the power box is, because I think that would do a lot of buffering from that side where you're going to see that whole big long wall. I mean, looking at the front of it, you're probably not going to be so dramatic from the view towards the front, or which would be the west side, but I think that north side is the biggest side that anybody's going to see. So I think between some buffering with some landscaping, whether it's berms or just trees that would kind of blend that in from the road, and then potentially those lights or windows across the top of those doors could make a nice difference.
Put siding on it.
Now there's siding and how easy that is, but yeah.
So I don't really.
Even, looking at the overhang over the upper deck, instead of having it faced with metal like the drawing shows, maybe have it put some wood underneath that overhang to help soften that. But back to whoever it was that said that, I think it was you, Robert, that said that if what would we have looked at when we were seeing this in a design review stage? And I think we certainly would have said there was too much blank wall on that northwest side, and that obviously we also would have said that metal doesn't fit in. Unless it's in a combination with some wood and or brick and that sort of thing, because there is a lot of modern stuff that kind of matches those three elements. So I just think maybe I can put it in a motion that we ask the staff to work with the applicant on bringing in some of our design design elements into the aesthetics of the structure for the next meeting, and including landscaping that would be appropriate to soften the some of the open spaces and so on.
Yeah, I think at this point, to me, that makes the best option is just kind of requesting that the applicant review design guidelines and consider sort of options that would work for the structure to soften and add some aesthetic appeal to the best of his ability. I know there are probably some hindrances just based on the structure, but I don't, at this point, that's, I think, the best we can do. So.
Okay, so I've been making a list, and it sounds like you are going to continue the public hearing to March 2nd and direct the applicant to provide additional materials, such as trying to go through address design guidelines and possibly see where they can soften the building, such as adding windows to the garage door panels or adding wood accents, providing a landscaping plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then any other materials that are lacking from their application.
Yeah, I think that's what my intent was.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Well, I think I put that sort of in a motion, but I'll move that we ask the applicant to review the design guidelines with the city staff and do what they can to soften the structure using additional windows, wood, other elements that would soften the metal look, and as well as looking at a landscape design plan that would also shield the building from the street views.
I'll second.
And continue the application and public hearing until March 2nd.
And continue the application and the public hearing until the following meeting.
And I'll second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to continue design review 2044 with the details as specified. Do you want a roll call, Morgan, or just all in favor?
Oh, sure, all in favor.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll move on to our last item.
You're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm nervous. What do I need to do?
Staff will be in contact with you, or you be in contact with Morgan.
You need to touch base with Morgan. And just to be clear, we're going to give you the design guidelines and the suggestions, but we can't design your project. So you're going to need to come up with solutions to meet the design guidelines. And so we can work that out.
As long as you hook me up with Morgan, that'd be great.
Yeah, yep. Morgan's your gal.
Great.
For at least another couple of weeks.
Okay, so we're on to design review 20-48, shoreline 2008 at 2075 Lakeview Avenue. Courtney Snyder, are you still with us?
I'm still here. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. You ready for me?
We're ready. Go ahead.
Okay, Courtney Snyder, 121 Commerce Street with McCall Design and Planning, representing David Rousseau. This is a design review, shoreline review application for a remodel home addition. The existing house is about 2,782 square feet. And we're looking to add 1,000 square feet of new living and redo an existing back deck, which would add about 622 square feet of new deck. So the lot size is about 39,052 square feet. We're in zone R4. The allowable lot coverage is 20% of that square foot lot size. So we're at about 95% covered. These images, this is the existing residence. You can see that top left image is from the lake. The house sits back about 100 feet off the lake. So we're well with, we have quite a bit of setback. That bottom left is kind of a proposed digital view of the additions that we are proposing. That middle bottom photo, that's existing south deck, that's going to be enclosed for a kitchen addition. The upper east entry there, we're going to add a little bit of entry, but most of that entry deck will be enclosed for a new larger entry area. And again, you can see that existing deck in that bottom lower photo. Some site plans, you can see where the existing house is located. The darker gray shaded areas are the existing or the new living to be added. You can see where the deck is to the west, which is on that lakeside. And then there are a couple trees. There's one on that northeast. It's a about 8-inch diameter aspen to be removed. And then there's a couple spruce trees to the southwest of the new proposed deck that we're proposing to remove. And then we want to return all the existing vegetation back to what it is now. They don't want to change any of the existing landscape, but also adding some new screening at the west side of the new deck. We can go to the next plate. So that top left is the existing house. You can see the main floor. They want to bump out the living room about 6 feet. Again, they're going to enclose that south deck so they can expand the kitchen, and then also enclose some of that entry deck for a new foyer area, mudroom, and bump out the existing guest room at the northeast end there. The upper level, they're going to rearrange the two large existing bedrooms, and then the original drawings, which were done in the late 80s, I believe, had planned to expand another master suite upstairs. So he would like to follow through with those original plans and expand that. Just some elevations of the proposed project. The max height of that new addition is about just over 29 feet. So it's under the height limit. And then the existing is just over 34 feet. And then all the materials will remain as is, and they'll just update as necessary for the new additions.
Okay, thank you. Morgan, would you like to do staff report?
Sure, there's not much to add. This is a shoreline project, so it's design review and shoreline. The existing house is about 2,800 square feet, and they're proposing to construct an additional 1,000 square feet of living space and 622 square feet of deck. And I think that was most clearly shown in this one, where you can see this gray area is where those expansions and additions are coming from, enclosing a covered walkways and decks, and then the little deck expansion, or the deck expansion back here. Everything meets code, lot coverage, the height, the setbacks. Only 3 trees are proposed to be removed. No vegetation or disturbance is proposed within the shoreline setback from the lake. I have no public comments, and I only have 3 draft conditions of approval. 1, prior to issuance of building permit, the applicant receive final engineering approval. 2, prior to issuance of building permit, the applicant provide light fixture details that comply with the outdoor lighting ordinance. And 3, that design review lapse after a year.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I'll open the floor to anyone who would like to speak about this project. You can do so at this time. And I'm guessing we don't have anybody because our list has gotten small, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing. This seems like a pretty straightforward project. Unless there are any concerns or questions from commissioners, I would entertain a motion.
Sure. This is Commissioner Clements. I'll move that we approve design review 2048 and shoreline 2008.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there.
Thank you, everyone.
Morgan, do you have anything else for us tonight?
No.
Okay. All right,
Sign?
then I
No
just
sign?
need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Scott, thanks for getting back on the line.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my technology issues.